the Constellation, and the Torsk. I spent the last weekend in October visiting Baltimore, Maryland, a city prominent during the War of 1812. The reason for my visit was my wife's attendance at an academic conference. Our hotel was near Baltimore's historic Inner Harbor, and I was excited when I spied a sailing vessel which I hoped might be an 1812 warship, as in a War of 1812 warship. It wasn't, but it turned out to be an interesting ship just the same. The sailing vessel was the USS Constellation, a sloop of war built in 1854 and, according to Wikipedia, quote, the last sail-only warship designed and built by the United States Navy. It was the second USS Constellation, the first being a frigate built in 1797, which was in the War of 1812. That ship, under the command of Captain Charles Stewart, would participate in the Battle of Craney Island off Virginia's Hampton Roads in 1813. The 1854 Constellation was initially deployed as part of the Mediterranean Squadron between the years 1855 to 1858, and in 59, as in 1859, she became the flagship of the African Squadron and took part in the African Slave Trade Patrol, during which she captured 3 slave ships and liberated the African prisoners. Constellation spent the Civil War years back in the Mediterranean, searching for Confederate commerce raiders. After the war, she was used for training, and today she is a museum ship. The Constellation was one of a number of vintage ships docked at the Inner Harbor as part of a floating museum called the Historic Ships in Baltimore. According to the site museumship.us, link in description, the Constellation is the last intact Civil War warship in existence today. Among the other vessels, one that especially caught my eye, given my obsession with World War II, was the USS Torsk, SS-423, credited with sinking the last 2 Japanese ships sunk during the Pacific War. Hey, that's kind of hard to say. The last 2 Japanese ships sunk during the Pacific War. Now, when I was younger, I thought it would be cool to be a submariner, the result of reading books like Up Periscope by Rob White, I guess. But one look at the Torsk disabused me of such notions. I really couldn't imagine actually getting inside this small, and today rather rusty sub, and once inside it, going underwater, deep underwater, to the bottom of the sea. Yikes. Double yikes. Oh, and the name Torsk? Wikipedia says, quote, following U.S. Navy naming practice for submarines in the 1940s, Torsk was named for a fish. Torsk is a common name in the North American fishery for the cusk, a cod-like fish in the family Lotidae, Lotidae. I hope I pronounced that right. Lotidae. It is also a Scandinavian term for the Atlantic cod. End of quote. So, dear listeners, please enjoy our video footage of the USS Constellation and the USS Torsk whilst listening to that lovely piece, With the Sea, by that patron of the internet, Kevin MacLeod. If this is your first visit to 1812 channel, my name is Warren, and I'm your host. I'm not a historian, nor am I an expert on the War of 1812. Instead, I'm a student wishing to learn about the conflict. Each month, for the roughly 3 years of the war, I will outline the major events. I will also review a book on the war. When the barrage lifts, cheer.